In the mountains where silence reigns, even whispers can shatter empires. The Whisperhead Mountains loomed across the horizon, jagged and relentless, their peaks lost in swirling violet clouds. Their presence was older than most civilizations, a silent testament to the endurance of time. The wind here was not gentle. It cut like knives, carrying stories of forgotten wars and ancient secrets. Horus Lupercal's fleet hovered above the mountains, a shadow against the dying light of a distant sun. The Warmaster's gaze was steady, yet beneath it, there was curiosity and a subtle tension that no warrior could easily conceal. Here lay a planet untouched by the Imperium's grasp, where civilizations moved to rhythms foreign and alien. Here, obedience would not be demanded by force. Silent, patient, dangerous, murmured Erebus, standing behind Horus. His cloak flickered in the dim light, a shadow that seemed to merge with the mountains themselves. And yet, they watch. They understand far more than we ever will. Horus's jaw tightened. He had faced alien species, traitors and rebellions, yet the Whisperheads were different. Their discipline was not merely physical, but cerebral. Their defenses were not in weapons alone, but in strategy, observation, and cunning. Each move of the Imperium's forces was noted, studied, and anticipated. On the planet's surface, the first emissaries disembarked. Soldiers, accustomed to unquestioned obedience, felt the weight of eyes upon them. The Whisperheads did not greet them with armies or banners. Instead, they watched, silently, calculating, waiting. Each figure seemed to embody patience itself, the mountains around them amplifying the impression of eternity. Captain Loken of the Luna Wolves whispered to Horus, "Unlike anything we faced, not only disciplined, but aware. Every gesture we make, every step, they understand." Horus nodded. "Then we proceed carefully. Every word, every decision, every action counts here." The emissaries met the elders of the Whisperheads, figures cloaked in fabrics that mirrored the mountain's jagged patterns. Their eyes were sharp, their movements precise. They spoke little, yet each word carried layers of meaning, subtle enough to unravel the unprepared. Horus understood. Brute force would be meaningless here. Strategy, perception, and intellect would be the battlefield. Erebus moved like a shadow among them, whispering to Horus, shaping thought, planting subtle questions of doubt and curiosity. "The galaxy bends not to power alone, Warmaster. It bends to perception, to cunning, to those who understand before they strike." Horus's lieutenants observed cautiously, understanding the stakes. These were not soldiers to be crushed, nor civilians to be swayed by threat. The Whisperheads were a civilization of intellect and patience. Their silence was as formidable as any weapon. Days passed. The Warmaster studied, observed, and engaged in careful dialogue. The Whisperheads tested every assumption, every decision, every word. And Horus realized that here, even he, the Warmaster of the Imperium, could falter. The mountains themselves seemed to watch, silent witnesses to the negotiation of wills, the subtle interplay of loyalty, obedience, and ambition. In one chamber, carved from the living rock, an elder addressed Horus. "You walk among us, War Master, and yet you carry the weight of a galaxy that does not understand us. Do you seek to conquer or to learn? To dominate or to comprehend?" Horus paused, the first trace of uncertainty flickering across his expression. "We seek alliance, understanding, compliance if necessary, but not unnecessary bloodshed." The elder's gaze was steady, almost disarming. "Compliance cannot be demanded by fear. Knowledge and patience are stronger than armies. They endure beyond the lifespan of men and the reach of empires." The words struck Horus. For the first time, he realized that obedience, the principle he had wielded so effectively across countless worlds, might not suffice here. The Whisperheads demanded more: insight, respect, and a careful calibration of strategy. Erebus leaned close, whispering, "Even the War Master can learn humility, War Master. Even the strongest can falter when tested by patience. And every choice you make here will echo through the Imperium." The emissaries returned to their ships at dusk, the jagged peaks of the Whisperhead Mountains casting long shadows across their path. Soldiers carried with them the weight of observation, the tension of calculation, and the subtle unease that their power might not be absolute. As night fell, Horus watched the stars reflect in the icy rivers below. The Whisperheads had endured beyond expectation, and in their endurance lay both a challenge and a lesson. Obedience alone could not conquer all. And in the quiet spaces between thought and action, the seeds of ambition, curiosity, and subtle influence began to sprout, guided by the unseen hand of Erebus. The galaxy, eternal and indifferent, observed as destinies were negotiated in silence, where intellect, patience, and subtlety ruled over strength, and where even the War Master learned the first whispers of caution and doubt. The mountains whispered secrets to those who dared to listen. Shadows shifted between jagged peaks, and the wind carried voices from ages long past, faint echoes of battles, alliances, and betrayals. For the Imperial forces, it was a test unlike any they had faced before. Here, obedience alone held no power. Discipline alone offered no advantage. The Whisperheads demanded understanding, demanded patience, and above all, demanded respect. Horus Lupercal strode through the alien corridors of the mountain stronghold, observing the precision in every gesture, the subtlety in every motion. The Whisperheads were not mere soldiers. They were philosophers of war, thinkers whose tactics were as lethal as any weapon. Each hallway, each chamber, each courtyard was a lesson in vigilance. Erebus, lurking in the periphery, whispered into Horus's mind, "Strength is measured not in the sword, but in the mind that wields it. And even the strongest can falter when their assumptions are questioned." Horus's thoughts were drawn to the men under his command, the Luna Wolves and other imperial legions. They were warriors bred for obedience, drilled for combat, trained to strike without hesitation. Yet here, in this world of quiet observation, hesitation crept into their ranks. A question lingered. Could they enforce the will of the Imperium without understanding the land, the people, the subtle rules that governed this alien civilization? The first encounter with the Whisperhead strategists was both enlightening and unsettling. The Imperial officers were led into a hall carved from living stone, its walls pulsating faintly with an alien luminescence. The elders spoke with calm authority, their words measured, layered, carrying both meaning and challenge. "You bring armies, War Master," one elder said, "but here, armies do not bend reality. You seek obedience, yet true compliance cannot be wrenched from a people whose will is forged by centuries of thought. Tell me, do you understand the cost of blind adherence?" Horus paused, sensing the subtle trap in the question. We seek understanding first, compliance second. But the Imperium demands order. Some sacrifices are inevitable. The elders' eyes, sharp as the peaks themselves, order without understanding is chaos disguised as control. The Whisperheads endure because we anticipate, because we perceive. Your victories elsewhere are empty here. Even as the words sank in, Erebus's influence guided Horus. "Note their arrogance, War Master," he whispered, "and yet their insight, it is valuable. Use it. Bend it to the Imperium's design." Hours stretched into days. The Imperium's forces observed the alien civilization, learning its rhythms, its tactics, and its philosophy. Every patrol, every engagement, every communication was a test. The Whisperheads allowed them to proceed, but under scrutiny so exacting that no movement, no decision escaped notice. Captain Loken reported to Horus, concern lining his voice. "These people, they are masters of perception. Our soldiers falter under observation. We train men to fight, to obey, but here their minds betray them. They hesitate where they should act." Horus's gaze was steady, yet inwardly he recognized the truth in Loken's words. The mountains themselves seemed alive, observing, recording, judging. The Whisperheads' control over their environment was complete. Obedience alone would not suffice. Strategy and understanding were essential. Yet even the War Master found his comprehension tested to its limits. A council convened in the highest chamber, overlooking the jagged peaks shrouded in violet mist. Here, the Whisperhead elders posed the final challenge, a mock engagement, not of weapons, but of decisions. Horus's command was tested against intricate simulations of strategy, each scenario layered with moral and tactical consequences. The exercise revealed flaws, not in his strength, but in assumptions. Decisions that would have been simple elsewhere became complex here, nuanced and fraught with unforeseen consequences. The Whisperheads watched silently as he navigated the trials, measuring not just outcomes, but intent, perception, and foresight. When the trials concluded, the elders spoke. "You are capable, War Master. Yet your victories are not yet complete. Strength must be guided by wisdom. Obedience without insight breeds destruction. Remember this as you leave our world." Horus nodded, inwardly aware that this encounter would shape future campaigns. Compliance could not be enforced blindly. Obedience must be earned, perception manipulated, and strategy perfected. And somewhere in the shadows, Erebus's hand ensured that every lesson carried seeds of ambition, doubt, and potential heresy, subtle, insidious, and inexorably powerful. As the Imperium's fleet prepared to depart, the mountains stood silent, eternal observers of mortal ambition. Soldiers reflected on the lessons learned, carrying with them both respect and unease. The Whisperheads had endured, and in their endurance lay a truth the Imperium could not ignore. The galaxy was vast, complex, and unyielding, and not all civilizations could be bent by force alone. Horus stood at the edge of the fleet, gazing back at the jagged peaks. "They are formidable," he said softly, "stronger in thought than most are in arms. Perhaps even wiser than we imagine." Erebus smiled faintly, his eyes reflecting the violet light of the mountains. "Wisdom is a weapon, War Master, and like all weapons, it can be wielded or turned against you. Remember this, for the galaxy is not ruled by strength alone." The fleet departed, leaving the Whisperhead Mountains behind. Their shadows lingered, carved into memory, a silent testament to patience, perception, and the power of intellect over brute force. And in that quiet, even Horus felt the first whispers of uncertainty, curiosity, and the subtle shaping of destiny that only a civilization untouched by conquest could inspire. The mountains whispered still, carrying their secrets into the stars, waiting, patient, eternal, as the Imperium moved onward, forever changed by the lessons of the Whisperheads.